hear me? Fantastic. I mean, you can actually put on your video if you can and wave your physical hands. My name is Funsho Chikezie. It's exactly 5 minutes past 2:30 and we are ready to shoot. I want to first of all, on behalf of the Solid Foundation Ministry, welcome everyone who registered for this program and who has come online right on time. I see our guest panelists are already in the house. I appreciate you, Mrs. Dideolu Adekogbe. Thank you so much for being online, for being here, for accepting our invitation and coming promptly, ma'am. Mrs. Oyinda Mola Shonola is also in the house already. Thank you for coming, ma'am. Mr. Wola Ojo is also here, one of our panelists in the house. All other protocols duly observed. Mrs. Bemisola Agbato, who, by the way, is the General Coordinator of Solid Foundation Ministry. And Solid Foundation Ministry is the organizer of this stakeholders forum on helping our teenagers cope, scratch that, beyond coping, thrive through this world-changing COVID-19, issue that has come up in our time, in our generation. We intend to move very quickly this afternoon. Like I said, our panelists are already in the house, and I have a co-anchor this afternoon by the name of the elegant and beautiful Miss Chidima Mbonu. Chidima, if you are online, can you unmute and say hello? Let everyone see your face as well. Chidima, I saw her just now. Unmute, yeah. Chidima, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Fantastic. So I'll just run us quickly through how we're going to proceed with this afternoon's discussions. And remember, our focus is teenagers. Solid Foundation Ministry stands for teenagers. For over close to 30 years, thereabouts now, we've been championing the cause of teenagers all over Nigeria in the different areas that teenagers are, in terms of working with parents, in handling their teenagers, understanding their teenagers properly, first of all, and having a beautiful relationship with their teenagers. We've been working with schools as well, secondary schools, and we've also been working with teens churches. You might like to know that Solid Foundation Ministry actually pioneered the concept of what churches in Nigeria now know as teens churches. We championed the cause of allowing teenagers have their own, unique mode of worship in church that is suited to them. So that's just a brief bio on Solid Foundation Ministry. You can check us up on all social media platforms. Please follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on all other social media platforms. So I'm getting right into today's meeting. We're starting, of course, we cannot be talking about teenagers without teenagers themselves. So part of the long line of panelists we have this afternoon are three fantastic teenagers themselves. And I will introduce them quickly so that they can also show their faces. And then I'll hand over to Chidima, who is going to take. So we are having a 3-in-1 discussion. The first part of this discussion for the next 20 minutes, we want to hear from our wonderful teenagers, how this all has been for them. And then we will from there go into a second panel to talk about the school, home, and church angle to all this. And then we'll wrap up the third panel to look at the mental health, psychological, social-emotional aspects of all this. Mr. Dayo Samuel is also one of our panelists in the house. Dayo, if you are in-house, I'd like to see your face and hear your voice. Thank you very much, sir. So I want us to go right ahead into the first panel for this afternoon. And I have Simi in the house. Simi, are you here? Your face and your voice, yeah. Simi is here to speak for teenagers. Zara is here to speak for teenagers as well. And I also have Tumishe in the house. So 3 teenagers, 2 young men, and 1 eloquent young lady in the house to speak and tell us how this all has been for them as teenagers and probably for their friends as well. Please, can you unmute Zara, Simi, and Tumishe if they are online already?
Zara can go ahead to unmute herself.
Our technician. and then I'll hand over to Chinima. Is Tumishe and Simi here by any chance?
Yeah, I'm here.
I can't hear who is saying I'm here.
I'm here. Tumishi is here.
Okay, hi
Good
Tumishe. Can you
afternoon.
put on your video? Fantastic. Okay. I'm seeing somebody else's name. That's why I didn't know it's you. Hi, how you doing? I see Mofifolu Walowo. No wahala. And that is Zara. Fantastic. We're waiting for Simi, but we'll go right ahead, hoping that Uncle Tolushe, please, whenever you cite Simi, just unmute him so that he can join the discussion. So over to you, Auntie Chidima, and then I'll be back after Auntie Chidima is done. Thank you very much once again, everyone, for joining us. If you have friends or family that are supposed to be here that you told about the program or whatever, you might want to help us send them a quick join us is happening now. Thank you very much. See you later after this first panel.
Hello,
Chidima,
everyone.
over to you. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Sister Funshaw. Thank you. And a huge welcome to everybody. I hope this session is just as productive, in fact, more productive than we hope and believe it will be. So right on to the questions. Tumishe, this first question is for you. Hello, Tumishe.
Hi, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So tell me how you felt about staying at home this past few months and not being able to go to school. How have you felt about the entire shift?
Oh, it's been. I have mixed feelings because, um, as a university student, I'd want to finish early. So this is going to halt the academic year, and also trying to stay productive because once we resume, we'll most likely go into exams and rush hour and everything. So just trying to stay productive and trying to stay positive, but also the aspect of missing our friends, also because our academic session is being halted. Like my school, we don't do online classes. It's a federal school, Unilag. We don't do online classes. So everything is just there as so when we are going to resume, we're starting from where we stopped. So that's like 6 months or 5 months that have been taken away from the academic year. So that's one of my worries. But then also still trying to stay productive, doing things that would keep me mentally in check.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Tumishe. Any other major concerns that you have aside that?
Nothing. I'm here.
Okay, so Zara, let's hear from you. How about you? How have you felt? What do you feel? Hello? Zara, you may need to unmute your mic.
She can't unmute
You may need to
herself.
unmute
Uncle
yourself.
Tolushe needs to unmute her.
Mutulusha, please, can you help us with that?
Zara, unmute yourself. I've given the permission to unmute herself. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, for the sake of time, we'll come back to Zara. Let's go on to another question. So, Sumishe, do you want to share with us how? Okay, Zara is on there. Zara, if you can you tell us how you feel now? Okay, I think there's still a little challenge with that. Sumishe, tell me, how has this even affected you generally? Tell me, I want to hear the positive side. I want to hear the negative side. Go into all details. Let's know how it affected you.
Okay. Before we left for school, and before we left school, we were on strike, and I was trying to like cover up a lot of loopholes in my studies and stuff like that. So this break at first was positive because I was able to catch up on what I have what I would write in my exams. So it was it was a good thing at first, but then when the month started extending and when We started staying for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. No response from our school for online classes. So that school aspect of it has been muted. Like I would say, the students in me has moved on. so I positively I'm discovering more about myself. I think in the past 6 months I've learned more about myself than other parts of my in other rest of my life. Then also always trying to learn new things, keeping productive. I write for some blogs. I still try and run my business, even though it's slow because my customer base is in school. But I try to run my business, trying to learn new recipes and stuff like that. But on the negative side, I already mentioned the fact that our academic year has been halted. Then also the fact that I miss my friends, I miss going out, I miss my fellowship, I miss going to classes and stuff like that.
So you miss that social connection with your friends, and
Yeah,
then also
yeah,
things have just halted. They've ground to a halt, and you have no idea what the next
yeah.
step is, and when they will come up to say, okay, we're getting on the move. So are there also any habits that you formed, any positive habits that you formed in this period that has helped you cope with the season?
Uh, well, positive habits. I'll say that I have learned to. I think I've learned to stay on my own, like being independent of other people. Because when you are in school or with your roommates, like everything is you're doing everything together, stuff like that. But then this one, that I'm just at home, I have to learn how to deal with certain issues that maybe I would normally tell someone. I just have to deal with it myself. And so that's made me more dependent on to getting to know me as a person and what influences my decisions going forward.
Okay. Have you had any struggles bonding better with your family through this period?
Eh, like my mom was complaining, I think yesterday that I don't tell her stuff. It's because I've not been at home for this long that we used to relate. We used to just maybe if I'm in school, I'll call her and stuff like that. But then at home, it's not something I'm used to. So it just keeps my mind like telling her like this program now. I didn't tell her until yesterday. So it just keep my mind. So that there's a problem. But my sister and I are bonded. Sha.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Sumishi. Zara, is Zara back on board? Hello, Zara. Or Simi, if you're here, please let's hear from you. Just say hello to everyone. Zara, if you're also here, do say hello to everyone. Let's hear from you.
Hi, Auntie Chidima. I'm just going to come in at this point so that we have no lull. We will still listen to Tumishe. Thank you so much. You were fantastic. We will still listen to, and please still hold on, stand by. We'll still listen. Thank you, Auntie Chidima. Hang with me as well. I've seen Mr. Dayo Samuel in the house. Thank you, Dayo, for obliging us. Zara, please put your video back on and unmute when you are ready to talk, and see me as well if you are in house. But let me just go right ahead and flow into the next level of discussions. Or is there any other teenager, because this is a whole town hall meeting, is a full stakeholders meeting. I see Fikumi Adeloye here. Is it Fikumi Adeloye? I know she's a teenager. If there's any other teenager in house, I would like to, if you don't mind, put you on the spot and hear from you. Will Fikumi like to unmute herself and say a thing or two? I see Fikumi Adeloye. Can she hear me? Fikumi, can you hear me there? Fikumi is not hearing me either. All right. Zara is back. Fantastic. Zara, it's over to you now. Chinasa, can you hear me as well? Can Chinasa unmute? So I wanted to ask Zara concerning the social part. Those that know Zara knows that she's a very social girl. Fikumi, please feel free to put on your video as well. I'm going to come to you, and then I'll hand you guys back over to Auntie Chidima for another 5-7 minutes to hear from you. But Zara, what has been the hardest part of this lockdown for you?
Okay, so basically, school has been different, and talking to friends and everyone has been different because we have online classes in my school, and most times when we're having classes, it's always rowdy and disrupted, and we can't really communicate with each other as much as we used to before. And now most times, like during classes, you can't talk because like either you cannot hear the other person properly or it's not clear. And most times, we can't like communicate with each other a lot. A lot of people are not online anymore. A lot of people's phones are working, and it's been very long since I spoke with any of my friends. So like that can be the first.
All right. If you have earphones, Zara, I think you need to use your earphones and speak a bit louder. So I heard that you said online classes have been rowdy, disrupted. Sometimes you are not hearing properly. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you say you are not able to interact with your friends during the online classes.
Yes, ma'am.
As against when you are in class physically, when you guys can see each other, poke each other, eye each other, and things like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But what else do you miss? What else do you miss about this whole lockdown?
Well, I miss school basically because most times in a week, school is where I normally go to every day of the week, Monday to Friday. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to church now. Like I can't go to church, so I'm always at home, and it's everywhere is like always school.
So you feel stuck at home. You can't go to school. You can't go to church.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, boring.
It's boring. Is boring a problem? Why is that a problem? You have TV, you have so many other things.
Well, now TV is getting old. Well, I'm watching new hobbies, like I'm developed on my drawing and other things that I normally do. So I got to get.
All right. Thank you, Zara, for sharing. Auntie Chidima, do you want to do another 5 minutes and hear Chinasa? I think I saw Fikumi come up as well. What perspective have we not gotten? Church, do you guys miss church? Tumishe, how are you guys coping spiritually? Or it's not a factor? Do you guys miss Teens Church?
Yeah, I miss my
ahead.
fellowship a lot.
Oh, you miss your campus fellowship?
Yes, I miss my campus fellowship a lot. But then we have virtual services on Sundays. At least the days that I wake up early, I can meet that one.
The days you wake up early. Chidima, please go ahead and wrap up with them if there's anything else you want to ask them. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I have one more question. Tumishe, to tell me, is there something that you need from the adults in your life that would help you thrive through the season? Is there something you'd like to have? Your parents, your siblings, adults, team mentors and solid. Share with us.
I think what a lot of us, at least my friends and I, we discuss it a lot. I think this is a time where we want real bonding with our family, with our parents, our sisters, as everyone, because we as teenagers are very remote. We don't like to open up most times, but then this period has shown us that life is very short, and then we would not want to miss out on this opportunity. So I think because our parents know that we like to stay on our own, they don't want to like try and come in, but then we are
so you would prefer that your parents reach out to you, ask you questions. Is there anything else?
Yeah, and also listen to us, because we have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that we might want to get into at this period, because at least to keep productive. So like it would be nice if they listened and were able to provide some of these things for us.
Okay, great. Thank you very much to Miche. Yeah. I'd also like to ask Chinasa. Chinasa, are you in the house? Can you unmute yourself, please? Hello, Chinasa. Okay, Chinasa is in the house. Zara.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so share with us, what would you like to see? What would you like to experience from your parents that would help you cope with this period better?
So I'll say basically more bonding time. Because like most times when we had school, I always go to school very early in the morning. By the time I'm back like 6, 5, and then I'm tired, and then I have assignments, and I just go to sleep. Basically, virtually all through the week. So maybe during this lockdown, a little more like bonding time, eating and yeah, having a to time.
How would you prefer to achieve that bonding time?
Maybe like watch a movie together or play a game like Scrabble or
Mm,
something. Or yeah, just talk.
mm.
Yes, probably yes.
So parents in the house, you've heard, we need to go dust up our Scrabble skills and those games that interest teenagers. We need to get into them to bond with them. Okay, last
Simi just came in. Do you want to throw a
we've heard
last
from
question?
Shay.
You see, Simi? Simi was
Yes,
our
ma'am.
last guest teenager. Simi, don't worry, Uncle Tolusha is going to give you access to unmute now. And so you get to answer maybe the last question. And Chidima, do you want to throw Simi the last question? Simi the last question. One or two.
Yes, I'd love to do that. Simi, if you're in the house, can we hear from you?
Simi, say something.
And also,
say hello.
Can you put on your video?
His video is on.
I think
Simi Loluwa is a boy. Simi, say hello. We're not hearing you. Okay. Go ahead, Chidima. Go ahead and wrap up with whoever, with Zara, with Tumishe, or anyone else, any other teenager. Let's wrap up and move on.
Okay. What have the things that you about this season, about how it has affected them?
Okay.
Hello, Zara.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you properly. You were breaking up.
I said, what is the common thing that you've heard from your friends, or some of the really serious you've heard experiencing in this period, how this whole COVID issue is affecting them?
I'm so sorry, I didn't hear you properly.
Okay. Hello, Zara. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can very clearly now.
What are the common things you've heard from your friends about how this period, the COVID period, has affected them? I don't just want to hear from your perspective. I want to hear from the perspective of your friends, the ones you've spoken with.
Okay. Okay, basically my friends are saying most people they're all saying that at home is frustrating because most of them have older siblings and it's like they're saying it's frustrating most times and their parents aren't always around. Now some parents can go to work, so basically they're like it's always hard to like cope with their older siblings and then no one is like they feel that they're not really getting any benefits out of it and because like some of their siblings are not talking to them or feeling that they are have the right to like talk to them or converse with them. So basically, they are like feeling it's a time of stress or depression because they are always like nothing to do. Everyone is like on their own. Basically, that's how they are always.
So sibling friction, sibling tension has been a major challenge for them. Thank you so much, Zara. Tumisha, how about you? Something you've heard from your friends, something different that we haven't talked about yet?
No, nothing different.
Okay. And Simi, is Simi back? Hello, Simi.
Since Simi is having network challenges. Thank you very much, Auntie Chidima, for taking us through this first part of our discussion. I know that, and thank you to Miche. Thank you. I've been at him for the past several weeks, sending reminders and all sorts. And I know that Simi also really struggled to join. Zara, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. So you guys might want to mute yourselves or put out your videos now if you like. But of course, please don't leave. we want to address some of the things that you have mentioned. Thank you very much. Now I want us to zoom in on Mrs. Adekogbe, Mrs. Shonola, and Uncle Dipo. Please unmute yourselves as soon as you have access. You've heard the things that our dear teenagers have said representing their peers. We know that apart from the things that they have said, of course, the media, social and traditional, has been giving us a lot of information on things that have been happening with our teenagers, with teenagers all over Nigeria, all over the world during this period. I was talking just a few minutes before we started the program with Uncle Wala Ojo, who we were just trying to share a bit of ideas before the program. And I was telling him that for me, my perspective on the impact of COVID-19 on the world is very similar to that of 9/11. Because when 9/11 happened, that terrorist act that changed everything about how we live, how we travel, security, how you even go into a mall, you are checked for bombs, and it changed our way of life. I think that in many ways, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed everything around from how we were living life before as well. And as generational theorists actually benchmark children that were born from after 11 and give them a different name, because they believe that the world they met, just like the advent of the internet also is a benchmark in defining generations, the world that the children post 9/11 met is different from the one that children before 9/11 met. So the world that is about to emerge, or that is emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic as well, is a lot different from the one that we had before. So Mrs. Shonolama, you have not unmuted. Uncle Dipo, I cannot cite you. I see that Mrs. Adekogbe is already unmuted. Mrs. Adekogbe, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Chikeze, and good afternoon, Mrs. Shonola, Mr. Ojo, and everybody in the house, and to the wonderful teenagers. You have all done well.
You are sounding loud and clear, and you look fantastic this afternoon. Thank you for joining, ma'am. Mrs. Shonola, you are not unmuted yet, ma'am. I need to hear your voice, ma'am. And Uncle Dipo, I saw him a minute ago. So let me start with you, Mrs. Adekogbe. You are in the education sector. For those that want to know more about Mrs. Adekogbe, I think her bio was also put up on some of our social media advertisements before the program. So she's a parent of teenagers and undergraduates. She's also a practitioner in the education sector with many years of experience, both in the public and private sector. So she's wearing two caps this afternoon, both as somebody from the school system and a parent as well. So from all that you've heard our teenagers say, and from other things that you've been hearing since all this started with our teenagers, what would you say parents should be doing now, ma? How can we help? So assuming that we all want to make the best of this for our teenagers, but we don't know exactly what they need the most or what we should be doing the most at this time, what would you advise?
Thank you once again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Listening here to what they have said, that's just the first thing. As parents, we should listen to them. Most of the time, we still do Lord and Master boss over a lot of their ideas. We should give them a listening. They have an idea, and at times we want to get them to do some things, and they want to tell us how they want to get it done. But we don't want to listen to how they want to get it done. We feel that they should do it the way we want it to be done. So we should give them a listening ear. And I heard, Tumishe said something about bonding, that mommy said he wasn't talking, and unlike when he was in school. I think, like he said, teenagers don't want to naturally start conversation. But parents, we should start conversation. Let's start off with something. Let's just start, these are children. We know their soft spots. We know what they want to hear. So we can, readily get to, the officers I have in my home, the boys, at times I just get to enter their rooms and the guests, and I sit on their bed or even stand by the door, and I start asking them, yes, talk to me. Yes, what's happening? What are you doing on that computer of yours? What are you doing here? Today already, I gave them my diary, and I told them to write for me all they have been doing, since the lockdown. So they have a list of activities, the list of the things they have started. They started what they have accomplished and what. So for us as parents, we should listen to them. we should engage them in conversation. Engage them in conversation. We should
So we need
also
to
ask
initiate. So we need to
yes,
initiate. We
need
should
to
not
initiate
wait for them to
them.
come to us. We need to initiate these conversations. And let me just chip in something here, Ma. We know that we parents too are having a difficult time. Some have lost jobs, many have had pay cuts. We all are also going through a lot of emotional issues ourselves. But we just need to try and overlook our issues and realize that if we are having a hard time, let's imagine how it is for these ones that are trying to interpret all this. So we should try and package our emotions, at least set aside times of the day and initiate conversations with these young ones. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, so we should get to do this. And like some of the things that you highlighted, as in parents having issues with their businesses, job, yes, even at that, we should, try and see, get them engaged. And some of these things our children also study, they study. Some of them can actually come up to us and tell us, Mommy, what is it? Daddy, what is it? It's okay. Don't worry, we will put through, you understand? And also, we need to, at times we get on edge because we've not stayed this long with them. Like I was talking with some parents. I said, the highest we have ever spent with our children before this time was 3 months. That's for mothers. When you just put to bed and you have, that is if you ever were given 3 months for your mat leave. That's the time and at that time they were even babies, they cannot communicate with you, but now they can talk even as teenagers. They have ideas, and now you get to you get to obstruct yourself, at times in a way. You're getting to do something and someone wants you to do something and you are already, my daughter, my second, I was saying, I don't understand, like daddy want us to do something. But daddy do not know that we already have our schedule. We have what,
we already have our own plans.
You have our plans and you just want to come in and say, okay, I want you to do this. I mean, you should allow us to at least, okay, tell us what you want us to do. And let us figure it out in our own time, in our schedule and be able to, but it's not just like, I want it done now, so we also need to, allow them, tell us, yes, good, it's good for us to tell them, parent, I want you to do this for me, but it's also good to, okay, what's your plan? Okay, how can this, but okay, maybe we tell them, probably I want this done, I want it done at this time. They can say, oh, okay, mommy, why not? Okay,
right.
Okay, I'll get it done. Let me stay this time. So let's not begin to look at it as if, hey, infantry, you can tell me when I want this thing done. I've never spoken to my daddy like this before, to my mommy, but that was then. This is a new world.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very valid points. I'm going to come back to you. Let me hear Mrs. Shonola's voice. Auntie.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Mrs. Shonola is also a very big auntie to us in the education sector with many years of experience, both in the public and private sector. But I want to take Mrs. Shonola's angle as a minister. So Mrs. Shonola also has been in the forefront of managing or coordinating many teens churches in one of the provinces of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And she also sits on the boards of many schools, like Mrs. Adekogbe does as well. But Mrs. Shonola, let us leave okay, Mrs. Adekogbe has spoken as a parent. Let's come back to the school, ma'am. From the school standpoint, what is your advice? What should school leaders, secondary school, they've resumed, the terminal classes have resumed. What should be the mindset of schools at this time, of school leaders and teachers? What should they be doing for our teenagers? Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me. Actually, before this period, it's like I've been receiving a lot in terms of reflecting on the way the teenagers and the youths, the issues they've been having. And I've been raising issues with school management concerning the need to connect with these teenagers. We have even brought up some designs in terms of curriculum to show that we can run a transformational system of education whereby we are engaging the teenagers, the children, giving them time to dialogue. It's not just teaching them, but giving them the space and the opportunity to plan for themselves, to give them ownership. The fact that we too have brains, we can do things by ourselves. So schools now, especially with this COVID experience, I think they need to start sharing the learning process and the development process with teenagers in their schools. There should be time when you have sessions, not just the prefects now. Everybody, you must have a community session whereby we all talk about issues in our schools. What is going on? How do you feel? What do you think can be done? You'll be surprised that these children have great ideas that they can share with adults and the school.
So
and
schools
that makes
also should
them
engage them. That's what you're saying.
very
And
important.
this is the time. This is not the time to get back to school and pick up.
And just
Okay, it's
pick
not
up
chalk.
the
It's not chalk
syllabus.
anymore.
No,
What's
it's
that?
a
Whiteboard pen. I say, okay,
pen.
you guys welcome back. Maybe you guys have been at home eating rice, enjoying
Yeah.
yourselves. Alright, we're back. No,
Yeah.
that this is, first thing schools need to do as well is to break ice with them.
That's right. Very important.
Connect with them.
Connect.
A lot has happened. So
Yes.
even schools need to teachers calm down.
Calm down is the word.
You get the
Calm
joke.
down.
Teachers calm down, break ice first, connect
Yes.
with them first. Otherwise, if you heard what I don't know if you caught a comment that Tumishe made. Tumishe said the student in him has left. I don't know if anybody heard it.
I caught that and I wrote
Said
it.
the student in him has left. So
Yes.
you how do you get that student back?
Precisely.
And you are just opening schools.
You need dialogue. You need to let them open up. And you need to share with them like friends, you know, not looking down like students or like Mrs. Adekogbe said, just saying that, oh yeah, you are a student, you are a child, you have no point here. You need to get to the level whereby there is opportunity for these children to open up. Ask them, how are they feeling? Ask them the way forward concerning some of the issues you are having at home or in the school. How can, you will be surprised that the students themselves can help the schools to carry out better safety assessment and coordination, apart from just leaving it to the staff. So connection, sharing, ownership, these are key things to run by for the schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Before I let you go, and I'll listen to Uncle Dipo very briefly again, because we want to please begin to put together your comments, your questions, questions more importantly, first of all, where are the gaps where we are not addressing in this discussion? You're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a school owner, you can begin to drop your questions in the chat box and we'll begin to collate them for the question and answer session that we're going to take at the end of this. But before you go, Mrs. Shonola, can we take a quick look at the church angle? So Tumishe says, he misses his campus fellowship, you know. So lockdown has been lifted a bit for churches, but the number is still very small.
That's
so
right.
Churches have been at a loss as to how, and I can speak for mine as well, as to how to engage our teenagers, even spiritually during this lockdown. So what do we do? What do we do?
Actually, I know that a few of the churches have been proactive enough during the COVID session to quickly go online, you know. But then what I have noticed is that many churches are just running the online service just like the usual, not looking at the peculiarity of the children or teenagers or youth. But I'm happy with those in my province because I see that they have been proactive enough to even go beyond just the normal WhatsApp or the children's or teenagers' zeal. They've actually turned a lot of these topics.
Give the phone to the Malam, please. Let him bring you to the door. Let him allow you.
They've actually turned the topics and put it into animation. Years ago, I received clearly that we are supposed to start putting more emphasis on the visual aspect of teaching and learning and even presenting our sermons. And we've tried to do that in my own church years back. We tried to use the video, we use the drama, we use debate and a lot more. And I think at this moment, we are not going back to the normal again. Things can be the same. So when churches even open fully, I feel that the churches need to engage more. Even right now, I expect that the churches should still be reaching out to the teenagers, to the youth. I know it's difficult for the teachers themselves. I was discussing with the coordinator in our province. I said, even when teachers don't have money for data, how do you want them to continue connecting with these children?
Yeah. And then the teenagers themselves too, ma. Sorry to cut in. Teenagers themselves are hoarding data. And we have to do this, you know, for school, everybody seems to be clear that, okay, it's school. So the data has to come out. Parents, somebody has to supply. But for church, so even if the teens church teachers want to engage, and in some instances, some churches have even gone as far as sending data to them. But how do we get them to engage? But I think you've already said a lot on that. Yes, ma'am.
See, you need to use more creative ways, not just the normal ways that you do with adults. For example, we believe that if you want to raise any updated or standard teenage church, should always be reflective in their practice. Whatever they're doing that is not engaging the teens, they go back to their drawing board. So I would expect that the aspect of animation, aspect of creative writing, aspect of dialogue even online, these are things that we need to get. Because when you get them to speak online, it's going to be difficult for them to just drop things and go and take a tea or a bottle of minerals. So you can now determine the schedule that they are to come on. And like Tumishe said, or one of them, if early morning period is not too good for them, then readjust your timing.
Schedule it to suit their timing.
Exactly.
So at least teens church teachers, thank you very much, Matt. Teens church teachers have a bit more flexibility than the schools. Teens church teachers, you are trying to still you are trying to engage and reach out to your teachers at this time. It cannot be at your own timing. See Tumishe saying he wants to join campus fellowship, but he's struggling with waking up early enough to join them. That means the time is not so suited. And then you've also said teachers need to be more creative now, you know, engage them. If you want them to come online, like I was sharing with Ma also before our coming up, that the funny thing is that teenagers have data for what they want to watch. So if they are saying that they don't have data for church engagement, it's because they've not seen value in the church engagement. So teens teachers, we need to just pray, think out of the box, think creative ways of engaging them. And I also think there was a session I used to take many years ago called creative teaching strategies. So creative teaching strategies is the way to go, you know. And like you said, even after the lockdown, teens church also cannot continue to be as it was. So this is the time to break the box and build a new one. Thank you very much, Ma. The animation idea also is a fantastic one. If we can reach out, you know, these are the things that they love to see. I think also giving them tasks, you know, tasks that they can do off the meeting time, so that maybe so much time is not even spent online. So we meet maybe every week, once a week. There's a task for the week. There's a whatever. I think rewards also work a lot with teenagers, you know. So if there's a task for the week, this is what we are all doing. You make it, and I say a game is anything that has competition. You put a sense of competition to it. This is the task for the week. We're all doing this week. Next week, there's a prize to it. You'll be surprised how they will begin to call themselves, engage, and look for the data. Thank you very much, Auntie. Uncle Dipo, I want to hear your the final thoughts on this from you, if you can unmute. And then please hang on, Mrs. Adekogbe, Mrs. Shonola, will please stay with us till the question and answer session. Thank you very much, ma'ams. You've been very helpful. Uncle Dipo, can you unmute? Uncle Dipo is Solid Foundation's representative or coordinator of the work we do with schools. So Solid Foundation works with secondary schools, you know, in the area of counseling, and for for both public and private secondary schools of whatever faith, we do counseling sessions with teenagers. And then for those that are Christian secondary schools, for some of them, we run their boarding house services as well. So Uncle Dipo is the person in charge of that. Dipo, say hello. Hello, Dipo.
Yes. Hello, Ma. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, should I make do with your voice and forfeit your face so that I can continue to hear you?
Oh, okay. Should you?
Or can I have both?
Let me put it on video.
Fantastic. Let them see your fine face now. So that's Uncle Dipo. Dipo, considering your work with teenagers, but if you need to take away the video for the audio, no problem. No problem. It's beginning to get funny. No problem. You can take away the video. I need your voice more. Wow. I've made an error by asking him to show his face.
Can you see me?
Yeah, but you can take away the video now so that I can hear you.
Can't hear both.
I
Okay.
can hear you now as well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. But if it fluctuates again, please take away the video. Let me my question so that you can address it.
Can you hear me now? I'm taking it. Okay.
Yes, I'm hearing you, Dipo. I'm saying that for your work with in the schools, what would be your recommendations to teachers themselves in the schools? Apart from the things that Mrs. Adekogbe has said about how the school leaders should create the right environment and put connection at the forefront. Is Dipo out now? Okay. There's a school, one of the leading schools in Lagos that invited us actually to have a session not too long ago with all the teachers.
I missed the earlier part of what you said. I was out for a moment.
I said, what should teachers be doing? What's your take, considering your experience working with schools?
But I think what you said is
your network is not very good, Dipo. Please drop your comments in the chat section so that we can take it at the end. And before I call up Uncle Wala Ojo,
okay,
Mr. Wala Ojo.
Having a nice environment for their students. Is that what you said?
Yes, go ahead, Dipo. Let's give it a last try. No, it's not working. Dipo, please help me reply in the chat section so that I can read it out to everyone at the end because of time. Uncle Dipo always has fantastic ideas for teenagers, by the way. So we really like to hear from him. I was about to share, before I bring up Mr. Wala Ojo and Uncle Dayo Samuel to try and tie up the loose ends for us in this discussion. I was about to share on how one of the top schools in Lagos invited Solid to have an online session with all their staff, like last week. And we're basically, and because the proprietress just felt that she needed to have her teachers' minds reconditioned to prepare themselves for the teenagers that were about to resume, and for teachers not to be so hard on them, and for teachers to calm down and do all these things that Mrs. Shonola and Mrs. Adekoba have said, connect with these teenagers first before diving into teaching and all those things. So I just wanted Dipo to share one or two more things. All right. Dayo, Mr. Samuel, Uncle Wala, please can you unmute yourselves now? I cannot hear either of the two of them.
Hello, I'm unmuted. How are you guys?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir. Good evening. Dayo, Mr. Samuel.
Good afternoon from here.
Okay, good afternoon in your part, sir.
You should be able to hear me now, right?
Yes. Dayo, is that your voice?
That is my voice. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. What happened to the video? All right, so no problem. So Mr. Samuel is a trained and seasoned mental health expert, psychologist, and so on and so forth. He's very active online. Look him up at Dayo Samuel across all social media handles. And Mr. Wala Ojo is an expert, teens development expert as well, with several years of experience. So from both your angles, sirs, my first question is, what do you, from all you know, and from all beyond all our teenagers have been able to verbalize this afternoon, in your opinion, what is happening at the background for these teenagers? Emotionally, psychologically, mentally, what are the short-term and long-term effects of all this world change on these young people? And what should we be doing as stakeholders? Uncle Ola, do you want to go first?
Okay, thank you so much. I'm particularly thankful to Mr. COVID for giving us this technology, because now we can talk to each other online. If it wasn't for that instance, this wouldn't happen. I really thank God that we are able to share voices and exchange this communication. A lot of things are going on with young people that they don't themselves understand, or they might not know the effect of it. I've tried to ask a few questions and crystallize a few of the things that I would call the effects, some long-term, some short-term. There is anxiety and fear. They may not be able to know that they're afraid for the future. They have the fear of dying, because nobody really wants to die. We also have the fear of our relatives dying, somebody dying before time. Those fears are right in the recesses of their mind, and it will play out in many, many forms. There is this issue of lack of when your life is disrupted, when you are unstable. They suddenly found themselves in an unstable environment, and that will give them an unsure future. And teenagers really want reality. They want things to be stable. They want a stable home. They want daddy and mommy to be together. They want stable school, stable friendship. They don't want anything rocking their boats. Now, this has rocked their boats and rocked everybody's boats. And they're not sure whether this is going to change. And that is an uncertainty which they're going to carry on for quite some time. Apart from their social life being disrupted in school, in church, with family, they are forced to live a sedentary life.
See, did you say sedentary?
Sedentary lives.
Okay.
Teenagers are gregarious in nature. They move around a lot in parks. They love company of their friends.
So this is anti-teens culture. This is against their culture, their way.
Terribly against their ways. And unfortunately, this is going to be here for quite some time. We would always have this situation where the whole world lives in fear about pandemics or epidemics. We've come to a point now where the last time we had a pandemic was, they said, in about 1991, when we had the flu pandemic that wiped out quite a number of people. This is the most recent of pandemics. There will be a continuous fear of association, fear of hugging, fear of whatever, because you don't know what's going to be next. There is a loss of sense of structure and stimulation.
Which is what you mean by instability as well?
Instability, loss of structure, loss of stimulation. Stimulation is given when you relate with people in school. You can achieve a lot virtually, online, as you would achieve when you can see them face to face and interact. So we're getting to a point where young people will see themselves as not really impacting themselves, not be able to impact the world in real sense. Everything is online. I am not a mental health expert like my brother is, so maybe he should tell us more about what it is going on in their mind. But I know that teenagers do not know that this is going to change their concept for a long time. My prayer is that this is shortened, and that we don't have it beyond a reasonable time, where it leaves permanent damage into their psyche and the way they think and the way they see others.
What would you say is a reasonable time, sir? Which nobody actually has control over. But what would you say is a reasonable time? And then if we don't have that luxury of reasonable time, what can we do?
Well, honestly,
reduce the long-term damage?
Well, a lot has to do with families. A lot has to do with what dad and mom would do, what school will do, what other support systems those significant people around young people would do to help them. If we receive help ourselves, because we're talking about teenagers, but everybody's affected by this thing. There's been job losses, and a lot of things are going on with our world is becoming less stable. And I think the solution, like we all know as Christians, is to give everybody the love for Jesus, is to make us heavily minded. Our life here is fleeting. There's nothing here that is stable. I think the Lord is just reminding us that only with Him is security and safety. We are not safe in our world today, and Jesus is the only solution. We need to create a desire for our children to know that God exists, He loves us, and He has a plan for us. And though our lives and the place we live here may be, our lives may be not too long, and we may live in a vulnerable world, but we have security in Christ Jesus is the solution. So the parents need to communicate this to their young ones, that the Lord has used this pandemic to speak to all of us, to tell about the fact that it's the sure thing. That nothing is...
That He's the only guaranteed thing in life, or guaranteed phenomenon. We can't say thing.
He's the way, the truth.
He's the only stable. There's no stability in life. He's the only one that is sure.
Our life is fleeting. We're like flower that withers away every day.
So this is an opportunity to drive home that understanding.
Teenagers who are not born again will begin to see, using this pandemic as a fact that your PhD, your work, your airline, your business can crumble just
at any time,
just like that. And it's a time to drive hope into their hearts. It's a time to hope. It's a time to make them begin to trust in God. Because teenagers are very skeptical about who God is and about life. They feel they have everything at the tip of their fingers. They feel they have it all. They have youth on their sides. They have fun on their sides. But this is reality. This is God telling us that your world is not stable. Only heaven is stable. I think it's going to drive them to see heaven as a sure home, as a place. No matter how long they live, no matter how short the life might be, that heaven is our home.
Thank you very much, sir. So it's a fantastic opportunity to address the issues of life and afterlife with our teenagers.
Yes.
And what is real and clarify the perceptions of reality.
Yes.
And what is not. Thank you so much, Uncle. I'm sure you are hanging on with us for any further comments on this. Mr. Samuel, over to you, sir. You have the baton. So what are the red flags that you think, from your perspective as a professional, what are the red flags that parents, teachers, all stakeholders working with teenagers should look out for, you know, with these young people? Like Tumishe said, like when talking about his mom, that they are not usually the ones to come forward, and they mask a lot with, with their gregarious nature and all that. But as an older person, auntie, uncle, mom, dad, whoever, with a teenager, what are some red flags that I should be looking out for during this time?
Thank you very much, Iman, for that question. And thank you everyone for being here. I am glad that we are having this conversation, and it shows that we are all particularly coming together to kind of continue the well-being of the people within our care and also the people around us. I'm particularly grateful for that. And thank you very much for having me here. I'm going to go with what Mr. Wolaujo have said, and I'm just going to expand on some of the things that he mentioned. The first thing that I observed, based on my own, based on where I stand, let me say it that way. One of the first things I observed is the issue of panic, fear and anxiety, which is a normal thing to happen, especially when you don't have the skills to handle certain situations that life or circumstances present to you. And some of the red flags that I have personally observed as with a client that I was actually working with this week is the fact that he began to fear death, and the fear of death began to become more obvious to him. As Mr. Walaudu mentioned, in fact, because he had had a grandparent die, he also recently, I think before lockdown, a colleague of his also died. When lockdown started, he began to have panic attack and began to feel like, who else may die next? Who else may go next? And this began to create a lot of anxiety for him. And that may be an unconscious, a subliminal message that is being passed to, especially one area that parents, caregivers, people around teenagers should particularly pay attention to is media, their use of media. There is positive media and there's negative media. Negative media, of course, like somebody once said, constant negative news. Media doesn't try to communicate something that gives hope and encouragement to people. Media is always in on giving the bad things that are going on around. So the use of media, particularly the listening to news, may be something that they will need to curb, because as you listen to news,
so we should reduce,
unconsciously,
is it our teenagers? Do you mean we should reduce teenagers' exposure to the media, to news?
To the media, yes, to news. That needs to be
Because it
reduced.
seems to be negative, a constant negative rhetoric
In
right
fact,
now.
For an entire month or 2 months in our home, I didn't allow my wife or anybody in our house to actually subscribe to any pay-to-view TV. I didn't allow them. I just said, for now, let's just stay off completely. So anything we want to watch, we download either from YouTube or we download online, and we know that we are in control of what goes into our entire family. So that might be the first thing, the first red flag, the way they use news. Some people, the news they will be listening to will be, let's find out what's happening next, who else has died, which country is stopping, all those things.
Which country has the most number of deaths?
Has the most deaths.
And cases.
Fact, there was a time Italy was trending. At that point, I had to go and check, okay, what's happening in Italy? But just around that time, I had to say, for now, let's stay off news. We are not subscribing to any, whether GoTV or DSTV, we are not subscribing to any of that. We can stay off news for now. And what I need to explain as how that works is, unconsciously, it triggers the fear center of the brain, such that even when you are not aware, your brain is taking it in. And at a time that you may not be very, when you put on the helmet of God, when you put on the whole armor of God, you are on guard every time. There are times that people don't consciously put on the helmet, they don't consciously put on the whole armor, and they are just off guard. At that point, something may actually trigger an information they've kept, an information they have kind of listened to and they may not be aware of, and that may present behavioral responses like. So that's a first red flag that I would think we should.
Thank you. What's the second? Is there a second or third?
Of course, the second will be how parents encourage, discourage their teenagers from hand washing. Go and wash your hand. Go and do this. Go and do that. If they are not careful, they might get that child.
It will further the sense of fear,
some
panic.
Form of obsessive behaviors might even result from that. Because for some people, maybe they have been reading about germs, reading about infections. They might, of course, our teenagers read widely. Sometimes they even read things that we don't know of. And for somebody who's been consuming information on germs, now being told that you have to wash your hands every time, it may trigger certain behavioral responses that we might not be able to help. So I think those two should be red flags we should pay attention to. How much of exposure they have to media, and then how we constantly tell them, you have come out from outside. Oh yeah, go and wash, go and bath, go and do this.
That's me. I've slowed down with it now. But you go to the gate or to the door, have you washed your hands?
You can create a behavioral pattern in them that they now get used to it. And then when it's not time for them to stop, say, oh yeah, stop now. I don't want you to continue.
So for the rest of their lives, before they begin to anywhere they touch for the rest of their lives.
So those are
Thank
things
you.
that I personally observed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dayo. Anything else you want to share with us on this? Okay, Mrs. Adeko, anything else you want to say, Dayo, on this?
At this point, not yet. Maybe if I'm asked the question, I should be able to.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. At this point, I'm beginning to round off. Thank you for everyone who has hung with us this long. Simi, I will still make an attempt to hear your voice, dear. Can you hear me? I will still make an attempt to hear your voice. Please, everyone, take a look at the chat section as I begin to round off. I want you to do two things. Drop your questions, any questions you want us to take during the question and answer session, which is coming up after I hear Mrs. Adekogbe and Simi, one more, and try to hear Simi. So drop your questions there so we can take them during the question and answer session. Number two, you will see a link to a Google form. So of course, you know that all these issues that we have exhumed, we cannot address all of them this evening. So we have just opened maybe the Pandora's box, like they say. Now we have to champ. So we cannot leave you all hanging after bringing out all these issues. So this might have been more of diagnosis, and even then not so deep. We need to resolve these issues, address these issues, have other meetings. This has been a total town halls meeting, representatives from school, from church, teenagers, everyone. Then we now need to, what Solid wants to do after now with our academy is to now move the conversation forward, be a bit more in-depth with each block of stakeholders, have separate sessions with parents, have separate. So fill the Google form, please, if you want us to keep you in the loop with our programs and meetings after now. If there's any time that parents of teenagers and teachers and all of us need support and tips on way forward, it is now. Please fill the Google form so that we will keep in touch. You will not miss out on information on our programs. So those are the two announcements I have to make. Fill the Google form in the chat section now as soon as you can, of course, before we go off air, so we can get it, and drop your questions. Mrs. Adekogbe, please unmute yourself, ma. I want to ask, and I will ask Brother Wala the same thing as well. Let us not absolve teenagers completely here. We are talking about supporting them, what parents should do, what teachers should do. What can the teenagers themselves do for themselves at this time? They are teenagers, so they are semi-children, semi-adults. They are in between. They are not totally helpless like my 3-year-old that I have to make every decision for. There are some things that they can take responsibility for and do for themselves. Mrs. Adekogbe, I will hear you first. Because some of them are here also now. Zara is still here, Simi is here, they are here. Let them hear by themselves from you. It's not mommy and daddy talking this time around. What can they do for themselves? What responsibilities can they take for themselves? And they can pass on the message to their friends for us as well. Mr. Adekogbe first, and then I'll hear Brother Wala as I begin to look out for questions. Over to you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much once again. For teenagers, there's a lot of things you can do. You don't just wait for parents to do what they're talking. But I know that a lot of them, because I heard Tumishe said he's growing his business, he want to make money. So that means he's already doing something, So that means already engaged in one activity or the other online. So for teenagers, I want you to begin to build your capacity. I want you to begin to see what you can do. There are a lot of online courses that are free, that are related to your course of study, or that will also aid you, for job placement. And I asked my daughter, what are you doing? She said, yes, I had to do some program, doing some online programming, doing some programming that she got an intern job. She got a job, just this last week, because she said, okay, she was just on doing a lot of things. And I said, whoa, fine. So there is a job available at the time. Only yes, for those people who are really on the lookout. So you need to build your capacity as a teenager. You need to be responsible for your actions. You need to make decisions. You also need to own your decision. Make decision, own decision, and take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your learning. We can only be here to give you guidance. But just like you said, you are not 3 years old. you're a teen, and especially an undergraduate or even in the secondary school. So whatever you want to become of your studies, you need to begin to take that decision now. For those of you in the secondary school, begin to go through your materials, go through what you have. You could put a call through to your school to ask the content, like a scheme, the topics, and then you can search out all of this through Google online, and you can have a lot of. You can even have demonstrated classroom. Ken Academy and the rest of them are there to even give you, edge, ahead, give you edge ahead of so many other things. So get hold of yourself, build your capacity, do a lot of online things, and then get engaged in some other things that can build your skill. And then assist at home. Assist at home. There are a lot of things to be done at home, because some of the things that we get to be afraid of is that, this student, and thank God for this time that we can get them engaged. Let there be something they can do in the house. There are a lot of things they can get engaged in. And somebody said, when they get engaged,
they are complaining of chores. Part of what they are complaining of is that because they are locked down with us at home now, we want to kill them. Simi is laughing, he's smiling. That we want to kill them with chores. Zara and Simi are laughing. I know you people didn't say that, but I know you people have been saying it.
It is true. That it is exactly true. As a matter of fact, my second daughter had to take over the kitchen affairs in my house. My first daughter is already working, and she's working remotely. She doesn't even have time. She resumes 8 in the morning to 5. But for her, she's also engaged in activities, but she also has to do that. So you need this is the time. As a matter of fact, thank God for what Mr. Ojo said. Thank God for Mr. Covid. I'll say thank God for Mrs. Covid, because everybody we are using agenda. Thank God for Mrs. Covid, because Mrs. Covid is making it possible for even the male and the female to get engaged in chores. Because now they live. If they were in school now, they'll be in school, and the short time they come to spend with us, they don't get. But now we have done like 4 months together, and everybody's going to know what they should do. So let them. They'll take.
So you are encouraging our teenagers not to see this. To see it as an opportunity also to learn, some of these home, skills. We were just funny enough, this morning, we were just saying at home, talking about dishwashing and how some teenagers abroad are even working in places like McDonald's and all, earning money from dishwashing. So we were still saying how you can be excellent, and this is the time to perfect dishwashing.
Excellent.
Yes. Skill at dishwashing.
You never know where to take you.
Sweep and sweep well,
Yes.
And also teenagers don't see it as
wash and wash well, iron and iron well. You don't know where it will take you, because as a matter of fact, we are going so many. You could get to do a lot of things. So start off now. As a matter of your work, washing dishes and washing all of this can also lead you into designing. You get into designing some things that will make life easy. So you are stars. You are good. As a matter of COVID, yes, we know it's extending time unnecessarily, but it's one of the best things that has ever happened in our world. So we should embrace the change.
So teenagers, this is also a good time for you to know that in life, there will always be good sides and bad sides. The glass will always be looking half full or half empty, depending on how you want to look at it. This is it you are seeing now. So whilst you are feeling all the disadvantages of, I can't connect with my friends, I can't go to school, I'm at home, there are good sides to this. There are things that you can use this time to maximize and get done. I believe that's what Mr. Dekogbe is saying. Perfect your chore skills. Let me hear Brother Wala, what he has to say for teenagers, to the teenagers now. In what areas do you think they should take responsibility for themselves in all this? And then Dayo, I have one question for you as well. Mrs. Shonola, I have one last question for you. Yeah.
I'm talking now. Am I on mute?
You are. We can hear you.
You can hear me. Fine.
Yeah.
Well, I thank God for the last speaker. I can't pronounce her name very well, but it's okay. I think most teenagers who are being reached, and for the other work that parents will do, this is a process of maturing for most teenagers in this season. Is a process to bring about maturation, because with engaging in positive thinking and understanding the will of God concerning the season, I believe, and I'm strongly persuaded that every teenager will come out of this season being more focused on Christ, more focused about life, more focused on not transient things but permanent things. And I believe the positive thinking is possible at this time. If
so teenagers should be deliberate about thinking positively.
Yes. I think right now they will discover that they are on their own. They will discover that they need to do something about their lives. They will discover that they need to think about the future. Usually teenagers just leave everything for their parents. They don't think about much. They don't talk about much. They're just passive about things. They flow through life. Now life has shown them the other side of its sting and its bite. So you discover that they will start thinking, if life is so transient, I must do something about it. I think that is something that God is helping us to achieve with this season. I also think that the teenagers should be able to boost their immunity even at this time with the health consciousness, with washing of hands and wearing of masks and keeping away from, this social distancing. These are things that are enjoyed and it's going to be with us for a very long time.
But like Mr. Samuel said, they should not be, I don't know what's the term, panicky about it.
Yes, the behavior, the new things you're doing. Like I've never washed my hand this many times before in my life. Now, I don't think I'll ever stop washing hands. And when I come home,
it's been ingrained into our habits now.
Yes, some of the habits we're picking up concerning our health is going to help to bring longevity, because we're going to be very
ultimately.
Of the immunity. We'll think more about God. Like I said earlier, this is going to draw any teenager that is right thinking is going to draw them near to God. Now, on the political realm, I do have really very good news, because young people, they particularly in Nigeria, there is little trust for leadership, little trust about leadership.
Yeah, you were saying that earlier.
They see leadership as doing things in corrupt manners. And I asked my wife a few questions some time ago. Why are the markets open and everybody is strong in the markets, and then schools are shut, churches are shut? Is it that COVID loves only churches and schools, and COVID would leave people in the markets? And teenagers will see all these and will think there's a lot of hypocrisy about it.
It's not fair. That's their favorite lingo. It's not fair.
It is being hypocritical. And I would imagine teenagers who want to make better decisions when they become leaders, that these adults are misleading. They're giving us wrong news. They're spreading fear. They're choosing what to do. They give them money to share to the community. They're stealing the money and all of that. And I think it's going to hide the political consciousness of young people, and which is very important. They would want to take ownership of decisions, of authority, of leadership, saying the leaders that we have in our
are not doing so good.
They're not doing so well at all. They're not doing so well. I simply fault them on many grounds. I think our leaders are just there to rake money to their pockets. They're using COVID as a means of corrupting themselves. And we need to let our teenagers know that leadership is important in our nation. And when they become leaders, they will choose to do differently. They will choose to live differently. I think that's an important message for them, and that's something they should learn out of all of this.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So teenagers, in all these problems, what are the solutions you are seeing? The baton will soon be in your hands as leaders. So what are the solutions that you are beginning to brood on?
Yes,
Auntie Mrs. Shonola, before I come to Dayo, I'm going to ask you for practical, simple mental health drills. That as a teenager, if I begin to feel a panic attack or fear, do I breathe for 10 times or do I jump on one leg 2 times? What can they do practically? What can you leave them with? Is it breathing exercises? What little practical thing? Do I begin to count backwards? What do I do as a teenager when this anxiety begins to rise or fear or whatever else? That's what I'm going to ask you to give us before they go. Or should they begin to count shells or blow balloons or fold clothes. What can they do practically, to, like Brother Wala said, create that positive thinking? So that's what I'm going to ask for. Auntie Ms. Shonola, for spiritual development, in what areas should the teenagers take responsibility for themselves? Now, so their teen church teachers are struggling to engage with them online. Churches are locked. What can they do for themselves, for their spiritual growth at home right now? Very important aspect. Yeah.
I'm actually
1 or 2 minutes, ma'am.
I'm very concerned that the percentage of teenagers that are able to really reflect and think like those we have to join us today, they are very few. There are thousands of those that are still out there that we need to reach out to. And one of the things I wanted to say concerning how teenagers can help themselves is that when they start getting engaged in community service, it's not common in Nigeria, but I think we need to start it early. For example, years back, I taught my young children and teenagers to have at least once a month for us to go out to, witness to, when we were even in the heart of Lagos, where we had those talks, and then we had these young children from very tush homes, and we needed to first pray for them not to walk right into the bike. So what I'm trying to say is that we have a lot to do, and then parents need to be more observant. I just read a comment here concerning a parent that the child with the online issue. I think we need to create more awareness about online safety. And then teenagers are good pretenders. Let me tell you, they can cover up a lot of things. So the parents need to learn a lot about how to be more observant, how to initiate conversations. Then the church needs to now upscale in their approach to evangelizing, because actually this is a generation that we really need to rush to make sure we fight for their souls. We make sure that they don't lose it. And one of the reasons why I have been in love with Solid Foundation is the fact that this is a ministry that is really focused on getting these teenagers at this age. If you read Pastor Bile's book on Battle for the Young, you will see how very important and critical it is for the church now to really go online, be desperate, be very desperate concerning evangelizing and getting these children. The percentage of those who know what they want to do, who love to be in church, they are still very small. We need to reach out now. But then when those ones that are there, we need to make sure that our engagement with them is creative and fun, so that they want to come back to us. Yes.
Thank you, Auntie. But you are not off the hook. You have 30 seconds. I've been hearing you. You are still saying we need to them. We need to them. I say you should tell them what they need to do for their spiritual development.
Their spiritual development. You see, focus is a big issue. You need to now learn as a teenager to pay attention to see if I believe the mental health man will tell us more. But at this time where there is a flow of information, the teenagers themselves need to know how to sift the information that is safe and that which is not safe. Taking up responsibility is a very important. Mrs. Akudekogbe has said that, but I heard her saying "my girl" to the kitchen. This time it is both the boys and the girls. Maybe because I don't have.
I think you said that too.
I push the boys. I had the opportunity to train boys a lot, and I push them more to the kitchen, and they have become very good cooks. So I think this is a time for them to have ownership of their lives, to make the right choices, so that at least the future would be great.
Thank you, Ma. Let me chip in by saying to teenagers out there as well, based on what Ms. Shonola has said, riding on what Brother Ola said earlier as well. Brother Ola was saying a lot about, at least you guys have seen in face value now, that this world is not stable. So to the average thing, to all the teenagers hearing, this is the time where you can also for yourself, there's time, develop and cultivate your own relationship with God. The Bible, you are literate. Take the Bible, for example, it's written in English. In fact, if you started reading the Bible as a teenager from the first page at the beginning of the lockdown, I can bet you that you would have finished reading it to Revelations by now, if you took it as an assignment every day. Do you know that? Now, if you decide that you want to lock yourself up in your house and read and then pray and do vigil, you are old enough. There's no school the next day or after school. So I would tell teenagers, as you're listening to me, Jesus was just 12 years old when he was, dialoguing with the pastors of his day. So teenage years start from 12, go upwards. So you can also, as we are saying, take responsibility for your academic, for this and that, for your spiritual development and your spiritual life now. You have heard it, Paula has said, everything is so fickle. You can't depend on anyone for everything anymore. So you face God, face and develop and cultivate your personal relationship with God. Use the opportunity of this time, and it will last you for the rest of your lives. I guarantee you that. Uncle Dayo, so what's the tip? When the fear, anxiety, panic attack comes, what do I do? As a teenager, what are some, some little, I don't know, you should have some tricks up your sleeves.
When it comes to fear and anxiety, particularly, those happen to be.
By the way, that's his core area.
Yes,
Dayo Samuel is an expert in fear, in handling fears. Really,
phobia,
if anyone
anxiety,
here
trauma.
or you have a teenager that has challenges in that area, fear, trauma, follow him online, look him up online. He has books, he has courses. Fear is his calling, battling fear in life. Oh yeah. So give us one of your secret coaching tips for people, teenagers.
One thing that can help when it comes to fear and anxiety is understanding that whatever response you are giving to fear or anxiety, or maybe even trauma at any point, is layered in three. First layer is that layer of perspective, what you are thinking. And when it comes to fear, what you need to understand is fear is not necessarily what you are feeling about the facts of what is happening to you. Fear usually results from what you are saying to yourself when something is happening to you. For example,
the
in
mental
Psalm 23,
talk, the self-talk.
Yes, it's the conversation that is going on inside of you. That's what really creates fear, not what's going on outside of you. So, for example, in Psalm 23, David said that even though I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death, I choose not to be afraid. Because it is when you accept it internally, that is when you become afraid. Do you get it now? So anytime you find yourself afraid, first of all, check, or you're anxious, first of all, check. What is the conversation you are having with yourself? What kind of internal talk are you getting involved with? Once you handle that, the second step is the proclamation you are making, the kind of words that are coming out of your mouth.
So whilst I'm hearing voices in my head,
you need to also take care of what you are saying.
Engage my mouth physically.
So you need to engage your mouth. You need to work on your proclamation. So for example, you may be feeling down and out and you say, my life is so upside down. The more you are saying it, because there is a connection between your words, your thoughts, and how your body will feel per time. So the more you are saying it, the more you are reinforcing that negative feeling. So if you are feeling down,
cut down the negative talk.
Cut down the negative talk.
Teenagers, and they like to talk negative a lot. Teenagers, cut down the negative talk.
It's not their fault, actually. That negative statement that they make is not actually their fault. They are at a stage in their lives where their brain is still developing. In fact, most adults, their brains don't fully develop until they're about 23, 24, 25. That's when a normal human being, that's when their brain becomes fully developed. That's what neuroscience teaches us. So when a teenager, for example, I remember when I was a teenager, in fact, if I go into some stories, part of me trying to cope with what was going on in my life was me getting into certain addictions, getting into certain behaviors. They were just me trying to cope with what was going on. But because I didn't have any adult in my life who could guide me, so those addictions became a way for me to pass out how I was feeling. at that point in my life. Do you get? So first, once you take care of what you are thinking, your perspective at that point, your proclamation, the third thing you need to start working on is your posture. And when I say your posture, I mean your physical body. If you pretend right now, so let me give you a little tip right now. If you pretend to yourself right now that you want to be confident, if you tell yourself that I am confident, you won't feel it that much. But if you put your body in a particular posture that makes you feel confident, almost instinctively, you will feel confident instantly. So what you think, what you say, and how you carry your body, at any point in time, you have control over whatever is going on with you. So if you want to feel confident, you might even do like this. You will start feeling confident because you have changed
And
your
if
posture.
I do like that, and I'm also saying it,
And you are
it's
saying
doing
it,
more work for me.
it's doing
So
more work
I am not afraid. When I do say I'm not afraid and I use my hands, it reinforces it more. I'm fearless. Waiting be COVID, it reinforces it more.
Amazing. So
So
those are the three things I think everybody can start working with right now.
The body, my body language as well.
And how you position your body per time, or your body posture.
Thank you very much. So might it be good for me to, or with the assistance of an adult, to develop, if I'm really having an issue as a teenager, to develop confessions, things I can be saying to myself regularly at this time. So that's to do. I can do that. Yeah. We can develop confessions. A teenager can write out confessions and say them to him
in fact, yesterday, yes, I think that it should be overnight this morning, because there's something I've started doing. I started making GIFs, that is GIFs. I started making GIFs of affirmations. So this morning I made one. Let me read what is on the particular one that I made. So what I do is I post it on my status every morning. So while I may just keep one going. So the one I made this morning is, today I will be the master of emotions. Today I'll be the master of my emotions. I am mentally and emotionally balanced at all times. So you can even start posting something like that on your status every day. Every day I'm getting better and better.
Thank you.
Those are things that you can start doing.
So teenagers, that's your assignment. Positive talk, positive proclamations, and those of you that have access to social media, as you are crafting them, don't mind the siren. The police is not coming to my house. It's NEPA that has come.
It's NEPA.
So teenagers, begin to craft these positive, declarations. And if you're on social media, you have a phone, share them with your friends as well. So you can initiate the positive vibes within your network of friends in the midst of all this, from what we've learned from Mr. Dio today. So don't let what's going on in the environment surroundings overwhelm you. Say positive things. Say them to yourself, share them with others. Thank you very much, Dio. All right, time to go. Do we have questions? I'm going to pass the mic to Auntie Chidima. I hope we've all filled the feedback form so that when next we are talking or we are going deeper, because of course this was a panel discussion. If we want to have real in-depth trainings, we can contact you. I don't know whether there's Fikumi Adeloye, is a wonderful teenager that wants to share one or two things with us. Fikumi, I hope you are online now. Can you unmute? Uncle Tolushe, can you unmute Fikumi Adeloye? Fikumi, can you unmute and use your video? And as Auntie Chidima begins to collate the questions, and anyone who has not yet dropped their questions, we have 20 minutes thereabouts to wrap up this conversation. We're doing well with time. If you have any questions you've not put up in the chat section, please drop them now. Fikumi, go ahead there.
Hello.
Hi, I would have wanted to see your face. So it's a long time I saw your face. So
I'd like to see her face. So
see you. Aha.
There she is.
Yes. How are you, dear?
I'm fine, thank you, ma.
Okay. So we've heard from our teenagers. Fikumi, a solid foundation is reaching teenagers all across the globe. So you've heard from our teenagers right here with us in Lagos. Fikumi is one of our teenagers in diaspora. And she wanted to say something and actually sent me a private chat. So yeah. Fikumi, go ahead, dear. What's on your mind?
So this is not a question, it's just me sort of answering some of the questions that were asked before when my mic couldn't work. So it's actually been quite, lockdown has been quite helpful in a way, because I've been connecting with my family a bit more, and we've been playing a lot of games, talking, and some of the homework that's been set. My dad and I were able to do some maths together. Mom and I were able to do some English together and some science. So it's really brought us together. And spiritually, that's helped a lot, because I know I have to wake up quite early. I have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to get to school on time. So I know that there's always time for God, but it's been very difficult.
Sorry, dear, your schools are open over there in the UK.
Oh, not yet,
now.
not yet.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
But
you mean you are still in that
lockdown.
routine? So you are still in that routine of waking up at 6:30?
I slacked a bit, but I'm still trying to get back on that for when I start school again. Okay. So that used to be quite hard to actually read my Bible and spend a good hour or so on God. But now I'm waking up a bit later. I can actually sit down and build a foundation now, so that when times of troubles come and when different things can be of a distraction, I'll already have my foundation spiritually.
Well done, dear. Are you done?
And because like my mom and my dad are very spiritual, and that is also like a booster, because I'm quite blessed to have two people who are very spiritual in my family. So it's just
well done, mom and dad.
It's just that it's better for me because I can ask questions that if for some people who maybe it's only their mom that's a Christian, or maybe they're finding out Christianity via someone in church who in lockdown they can't really communicate with, I can just straight come to my parents and ask questions. And they have been really helpful. They've been juggling work and financials and different things. And they've really been helpful to make time for me as well, which has helped me spiritually and physically.
Thank you, Fikumi. Nice hearing your voice. Regards to Tenny and Toito. All right. Thank you, dear. So I like the part. Auntie Chidima, are you ready? Do we have any questions? I like the part where Fikumi said she's, unlike what we said earlier, that what teenagers are like, that she has been able to, she's recognized her parents to be people that can answer some of the tough questions that she has at this time. And I guess they also, have been approachable to answer some of those questions. So teenagers, please feel free to ask the questions. Yes, parents, sometimes our faces may be somehow trying to, deal with our own issues, but broach the topic, ask the questions, they'll get answers. I think that's just what I wanted to say about that. So ask the questions. Auntie Chidima, do we have questions from the discussion? I want to begin to thank everyone who has hung on with us from the beginning till now. It's not easy to stay focused on an online meeting for the amount of time we've been here. Is Chidima here? Chidima. All right. Chidima, I guess Chidima is trying to unmute. Uncle Tolu shared Chidima. Okay, you are unmuted now.
Okay, yes, I'm back on.
Do we have any questions from the house?
Yes, I have a question that I felt was a gap.
Okay, go ahead, please. We have about 15 minutes to do this. Yeah.
Okay, Zara mentioned something about her friends and how they struggle with sibling tensions and sibling friction at home. How can parents assist with this? I don't know if any of the facilitators. I think I'd like Mrs. Shonola to answer this question.
Thank you very much. I think one of the ways to either settle sibling rivalry or add it all together is mainly getting parents realizing the fact that there has to be open dialogue in the home. You see, like the last speaker said, Fikumi, I think, her name, our parents have been very important and very proactive in the way they have been carrying their children along. So one of the issues is that the parents need to get a time. I expect that this period is when the family has at least one day when you sit together. You see, that culture that we lost a long time ago, I expect the parents to bring that now, so that that is the time for conversation. That is the time to open up. Then we have what is called conflict resolution. In homes, we should learn to resolve conflict amicably. So there is, you can, when sibling rivalry erupts, it is the responsibility of everybody in the home to have a platform for open conversation, for conflict resolution, for expression of our feelings, for us to say what I don't like, for us to say what I would have preferred, you know. And once that one is cultivated, and parents avoid showing favoritism, you know, because one of the key issues of sibling rivalry is when they feel that, oh, daddy or mommy likes this one more than me, then we, of course, you can ask Joseph again what happened to him. So parents are the ones that really need to be responsible in this regard, to make sure that the home environment is such that everybody is respected, is recognized, is appreciated, and loved. Once that one comes on, and I feel that I can express my feelings, and others listen to me, and we come to an amicable solution, of course, such things will come down. And I hope I've been able to say one or two things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. There's another question that was raised by Onyekwelu Okoye. Onyekwelu Okoye said that she has concerns for her son because she has seen him do improper things on the internet with respect to consistent exposure. And, you know, as teenagers, they would say, oh, I have to study online and all of that. Though Deepa responded and saying that you need to initiate a conversation with him, you know, have a conversation about the short and long-term consequences. But I would like to hear another perspective of something that Onyekwelu can also do. Uncle Wala, please, can we hear your perspective on this, sir?
Now, how old is this guy?
Hello, Onyekwelu, are you with us?
What's the age of the person?
She's unmuted. Uncle Tulusha, please, can you unmute Onyekwelu Okoye so she can respond to Uncle Wala's question? Uncle Wala, she says 15 in the chat box.
15. Well, in the first instance, the misbehavior of young people online usually stems out of unattended times, times the person is free with computer, and in many cases, the computer is used in a private corner. Maybe the person has a room to himself. Most young people who go into pornography on computer and go to inappropriate sites have had some unbridled freedom for a very, very long time, either from when she was even as young as 9 years old, and a lot of people who also have this opportunity to misbehave have a lot of privacy. So it might be a very difficult thing for a parent if the habit has become quite internalized to be able to get the person out of it. But the way forward is, once that's been discovered, call the young person, talk to the young person, and at age 15, it's not too late to begin some set of disciplines, taking away privileges and ensuring that this behavior is curbed. Parents need to pray for such person. I mean, if the person is in Christ, if that child has been exposed to Jesus Christ, it's easy for the person to see the habit as something that God hates and be willing to turn away from it. So it's a two-way thing. Parents need a lot of work to do with the young person. The young person has to be disciplined. The young person has to be talked to. More than anything else, it needs to be loved. Behaviors like that usually is the vacuum of some unmet needs in the life of a young person. Either she's not in a relationship with the father or a good relationship with a significant other. So you would look at the behavior as stemming out of a need, something she's doing because that person is reacting to an unmet need or a question that is unanswered in the person's life. So a good relationship being formed with this person would help. If you draw the person closer, even after discipline or when discipline is going on, show a lot of love and empathy. He's not, he didn't get to the behavior because he wants to. He just found himself in it. He should be loved out of it. And I do believe that the disclosure itself is a means of God starting a process of healing and a process of rehabilitation.
And I don't know, can I add to that? Should I? Thank you very much, sir, for that. I love the approach you took, because sometimes what from a behavioral perspective and from a professional angle, what I've observed over time and with the kind of people, personally, I was actually, when I said addiction earlier on, I was addicted to masturbation for over 13 years of my life. It started when I was, I think, around 16 years. I entered my house one day and then I saw it on the TV of our house. And I was like, okay, so that was how I sat down and started watching and I got hooked. And that was how it went on for the next 13 years of my life. What I love from what you said is when the disclosure is made, the parents should try as much as possible not to scold that child. The child has taken great length coming to tell you that this is what is going on with me. When I at my own stage then, I couldn't confide in my parents. I couldn't open up to my parents because I was afraid. Me that I was told that I was disturbing the peace of the house. How much more if I now bring as detailed as personal information like this? What would they tell me? And then, just as he mentioned as well, every addiction, every behavior that is not that correct, a lot of times they are actually meeting a need that we have. They are meeting a need that a child have. That need could be that they are unsure of what's going to happen to them. And so this becomes a way for them to pass out. It could become like they are looking for more connection with people who matter in their lives, and they are not available. So for some parents, they are parents who are so big on presence, and they are not present in their kids' lives. So they do a lot of presents. They are quick to give their child the next big thing, but they themselves are not big in their lives. In fact, one question I always ask parents is, who would you say is the biggest influencer in your child's life? If that person is not you as the parent, then your work as a parent is yet to actually begin. So I love what Mr. Wale said just now, and I just thought to add that to it. So you need to find out what it is that behavior meeting in that child's life, and then how can I help this child develop a more positive coping strategy rather than this negative one that the child is using. Because of course, life does not exist in vacuum. You need to fill up something in order to take off something. So let's say a child is addicted to phone. They are always pressing their phone. In that case, you need to simply find something to replace that phone that can take attention away, that will meet the same needs that the phone is meeting, but in a more positive way. So it could be maybe anything that it will be, usually is going to be particular and specific to that teenager. So I hope that is helpful. I just thought to add that in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dayo, you've been helpful. I'll just read Simi Karunwi's comment on this issue as well. Simi is one of our guest teenagers that was supposed to speak earlier but had internet issues. So he was responding to the same question and said his parents usually get his school timetable and schedule of classes, so they keep track of his activities online. So it's not enough for the teenager to be saying, I'm doing school, I'm doing school, I'm doing schoolwork, I'm doing schoolwork. The school should be able to provide the timetable or schedule of events. So you know when classes are on, you know what assignments have been given or whatever. and you can keep track. And he also says his social media activity at home is also being monitored. God will help parents. A lot of monitoring needs to be done. And then Dio, there's this comment here, still from Simi as well. Simi, thank you so much. I've seen that you've been very active in the chat box, even though you couldn't talk. Well done. Well done. Dio, Simi is saying that this matter of keeping up news, he says, isn't it important that families keep up with news? Our parents used to say, come and listen to news. It's important. So now, all of a sudden, don't listen to news. He says, isn't it important that families keep up with news so as to know what's happening around the world, especially for teenagers like myself who enjoy the news? He says he enjoys the news. He likes to keep up with things happening around the world. You say you should stop watching news. How for do?
Now, the news in the context that I used was the context of COVID-19 and what's going on, and particularly negative news.
Negative.
Do you get it now? So what I said was constant negative news will continue to trigger. Of course, there are some channels that you can watch. For me particularly, if I want to get news, I know a channel that I watch that even no matter how bad that thing is, they will present it in a way that you can easily receive. So those are channels that I personally watch. So there are channels like that you can watch. So that is
Thank you very
much. I think
much.
somebody also asked a question about getting teenagers to open up. I think that.
Okay, yes, there was a question like that too. Yes, getting teenagers to open up.
Talked about
Brother, that is the very last and final. Getting with teenagers to open up. Tumishe started that by saying, it looks like we don't want to talk, but we actually want to talk. Connect with us. So how does a teenager do that, a parent do that opening up?
Well, in the first
sorry, sir, before you go ahead, everyone, this is the last call to fill the feedback form so we don't lose you in our communications, please. After this, I'm saying thank you and we are shutting down. So if you still haven't clicked on the Google form, please do so now. Uncle, over.
Okay, from the years past, we've learned and we've observed that one of teenagers' developmental tasks is not to talk to parents, to become self-reliant, to start to think by themselves, to start to chart their own course. So not talking and not willing to start conversation is part of the essence of their growth and development and maturing. So it's not a disease. It's not. It's something ordered by the essence of their life and developmental process at that time. But indeed, it's also important that we get them to talk, because without communication, without accurate communication, you have misconception of ideas and of thoughts. And it's the parents who usually would have the responsibility of initiating such discussions. And usually parents do it in such very terrible ways. And that's why it gets worse and worse.
So what's the good way?
Particularly when the teenagers actually want a window to actually talk, he gets a block. Either mommy is in the kitchen, he doesn't get eye contact, he doesn't get attention, or daddy is busy watching TV, or he's holding his newspapers in his hands. And so when the teenager wants to finally say one thing or the other, he finds the windows or the doors are shut against him. So it gets worse. So I think the way forward is to make sure, since this is what teenagers are, parents need to be looking out for when this talking is going to happen, so that they're always ready to open their doors. They always say to drop the newspaper, switch off the TV, mommy stop cooking, and looks straight in the teenager's face and says, darling, I've been waiting for you to talk. I'm glad you're ready to talk, and I'm ready to listen. That would make the teenager know that anytime he comes, he gets listening ear. Every time he comes, he gets listening ear. In listening skills, we used to do this practice, this practice that when you're listening to people, you're listening with eye contact. You listen to show that you have respect for the person. You listen and you drop everything so that you have uninterrupted listening. If parents practice that when the teenager will talk, anytime the teenager comes to talk, they will get more opportunities for this teenager to talk, and he'll feel free to talk more. But if parents are too busy and don't have great time, And one of the best places to talk to teenagers, or let teenagers talk to you, is not in the parents' bedroom, which is more like a throne room, a judgment room. If you want teenagers to talk, you go to their bedrooms, go to where they are, go to places where they feel protected.
Like their territory.
Like go to their territory. If you invite a teenager to your bedroom to talk, you're looking for trouble.
Your territory.
Your own territory. No, go to their territory. And one of the best ways to talk, to find is to get common things to find out what the teenager loves, find out what he does best, find out the things that trips him, the things that he hypes, the things, maybe it is cars, maybe it is music, even if it is girls. Find what is the common ground for you
to break the ice, to initiate the conversation.
To initiate conversation.
From their areas of interest.
Yes, it's not really so difficult to make young people to talk. But like I said before, it is the business of the years is not to talk to parents. They don't want to talk to parents. It is part of what makes them mature eventually. But the important thing is when they do want to talk, they find willing ears. Once those ears are constantly willing, the few times they talk, they get fulfilled because their parents have heard them. I think that should help.
Thank you very much, Uncle Wola. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much to all our panelists in this discussion this afternoon. Mrs. Adekogbe, thank you very much, ma, for talking and staying. Mrs. Shonola, thank you so much, ma, for coming, for sharing your nuggets of wisdom, for staying all through the program. My oga at the top, Mr. Dayo Samuel, is one of my coaches. Oh, follow him online. No. Thank you so much, Dayo, for coming, for sharing with